In this video, I wanted to give a little bit of advice on high school. I wanted to talk about high school, give my insight, give, my opinions, my just honestly advice on high school, and this applies to middle school too. I had a really bad middle school experience, but I had a better high school experience. I was not popular, okay? Not popular in the slightest. I'm not saying I was popular at all because I was not. But I did do well in school. I was in the honor roll. I got scholarships for, university. I was in minimal drama. Obviously, it's high school. There's gonna be drama in middle school too. Drama galore. But yeah. And honestly, people are always adults are always like, oh my god, I wish I could go back to high school. I wish high school was my biggest issue. But high school is actually feral. Actually, there's demons in there. I swear. It's something with the air. I just oh my god, I have a sister, and I know people who are in high school, and I have a sister in high school, and she tells me some of the stuff that's going on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never, please, I would not go back. I will take this life any day than to go back to high school. So ratchet. And yeah. And honestly, if you're struggling in high school, so valid, so valid. Don't let any parents, teachers, people, social media make you feel like you're weird for complaining about high school, because that stuff is so feral and so ratchet. Now, if you're in university, you can skip class most of the time because it's not attendance based because there's so many people in it, or work, sometimes you could take days off and stuff. But school, you kind of have to show up, or else you're gonna have absences, you're gonna miss out on stuff. It's hard. It's really hard. So we are gonna talk about it today though, and I'm going to try to navigate things with you because I never had an older sister. So maybe you're in the same boat and you don't have an older sister, or you just need advice, and I'm here. Okay, the first thing that I tell everybody who complains to me that they're going through a hard time in anything really, but especially high school, middle school, having morals and boundaries is so important. So important. And I wish so hard that I would have had these boundaries and morals, because I had morals, but I had a really hard time sticking by them. If somebody crossed, if somebody did something that I didn't agree with, I would just stay, because I was I would rather have bad people around me than nobody around me. And especially boundaries is so important, because whenever you're in high school, maybe you're in a first relationship or middle school or anything, and having those boundaries are so important, because it can really help you not become overly attached to somebody who's not good for you. Even now that I'm older, I still have people around me who are oh my god, this is such a hard relationship, this person keeps doing this and this, and I don't like it. And I'm okay, well, is that a boundary that they crossed? And a lot of people don't realize the importance of this, because they're boundaries for a reason, right? They are something that you don't want crossed for a reason. And something like this happened to me recently. So I live with somebody, and I write everything in a journal because I don't have time for therapy, and therapy can become very costly too, but it's mainly a time issue. I'm a very, very busy person, and I just think journaling is fine enough for me. I don't need a full-blown therapist most of the time. So journaling is fine enough for me, and it's quick and it's efficient and I like it. So, but for me, a huge boundary is my own personal space. My personal space and my privacy is a huge thing for me, right? And I think that that's basic, just basic decency to not go through people's things. But recently I was ranting about someone in my journal, and they read through it. They opened my journal and they read through it, and that was a huge boundary crossed for me, right? Now, say I was in high school at the time, I would have blamed that on myself. I would have been you know what, I shouldn't have wrote those things. I shouldn't have done this. I should have taken precautions to make sure this didn't happen. But you know what, at the end of the day, that was a boundary that they should have known already, and they crossed that, And I feel whenever you're in high school, you don't, or middle school, you don't really have that same perspective where you're just this is my boundaries. And a lot of people, they feel they're being extra, whenever they're like, these are my boundaries and blah blah blah, but like it's real stuff, and it's like very, very important to surround yourself with people who actually validate you and make you feel heard about your boundaries. Like everybody has them. Like a boundary could be that you don't want to be hit. Does your boyfriend hit you? Does your girlfriend hit you and you stay? Or a boundary could be like, a boundary or moral could be that you're like, if you're a girl, you don't want to pay for whenever you go out, and that's a man's responsibility to pay for that. Not everybody agrees with that, but that could be yours, and if somebody doesn't do that for you, then you got to move on. Like every single time you ignore your boundaries and your morals, you're just reinforcing to yourself that you're not worth following through with what you want. You know, like you're asking for too much, but I don't think anything's asking for too much. Like if you want it for a reason. And in high school, it's so hard to remember that, like, you are important, and like, especially like because you're in a school where there's such limited amount of people. Like whenever you're out of school, you have like the whole world, right? You have a whole life, you can make friends anywhere. But whenever you're in high school, it's like, it feels so important to have those people around you, and to have like people around you that actually like you and stuff. Like you just want somebody around you, even if they don't like you, just want someone around you. And you don't want to be alone through high school, so you just like let people do whatever they want. You let people push you around, like you let people talk trash about you, you let people make you feel bad, and because you just want people in your life. But this goes into my next point of like, it's really, really, really important that like you surround yourself with people that actually make you feel seen. Like it's the worst feeling whenever you leave like a friend's house or like a sleepover and you're like, was I interesting enough? Like was I entertaining enough? Did I say something stupid? Are they judging me? Are they talking about me in a secret group chat that they have? Like that's the worst feeling whenever you have friends but they're not your real friends. Like now I have real friends and I can talk to you about anything. But in high school, did I have that? No, I didn't. Like I had good friends, I guess you could say, but like I did leave almost every single time thinking like, was I interesting enough? And like these friends would like hang out without me and then talk about the things that they did together, like, you know, later on. Like they would be like, yeah, like they would like talk about it in front of me and be like, remember that movie we went to go watch yesterday? And I wasn't invited to that. So it made me feel like, okay, like, and it was not once, it wasn't twice, it was a whole bunch of times, right? But I just had the mindset at the time of like, bad friends is better than no friends, which is so not true, because everything you do whenever you're young shapes you into who you are now. So say you let bad people into your life whenever you were in high school and you reinforced it to yourself that you deserve bad friends. Like every single time that you don't change something that's bad for you, you were just choosing that. You were allowing these things to happen to you. You have bad friends who gossip about you and you keep them and you keep telling them things about you. And because it's such a vicious cycle, because whenever you're in high school, you just want to be interesting. You just want to be enough for people. So sometimes that just turned into like, okay, well, I'm gonna tell this horrible thing about myself, or I'm gonna tell them the secret about myself because they'll find this interesting and they'll find this funny. And then later you're like, oh my god, what if they tell people, like, what if I went too far, what if this, what if that? But if you had the right friends, that would never happen. Like those thoughts would never occur to you. And like back to like the situation about like boundaries and morals and stuff, is like knowing who you are as a person. Because a lot of times in high school, people will like gossip and say like, she's a bitch, she's a hoe, she's so rude, she is so lazy, she's this, she's that. Like people are like malicious, right? And people will say whatever they want about you, and it's up to you to know who you are. Are you rude? Are you a bitch? Are you dumb? Do you get bad grades? Did you talk to this girl's boyfriend? Did you roll your eyes at this girl? Like, did you do this? Did you do that? Are you a really rude person? It's up to you to know that, because people will say whatever. Like, people in high school are so bored and pathetic that they will say whatever they want. They'll run on whatever narrative they want. They're so bored and they just want entertainment, and they're so hormonal and so like rough that like they will literally like take anything and just spin it out of proportion. And it's up to you to know who you are, because if you don't know who you are and you can't control your own emotions, someone else will do that. Somebody else will control your emotions and make you out to be crazy. Because if you let yourself get involved with that drama, like if somebody says like, oh, she's such a bitch, and then you're like, actually she's the bitch, you know? Or you're like, no guys, like let me prove it to you that I'm not. Like you're just driving yourself crazy because you're showing yourself like you don't know yourself at all. And at the end of the day, these people, I guarantee you will not see these people or care about them once you graduate. The people that I went to school with, do you want to know how many people I probably see out of all of them? Maybe 2%. On a regular day-to-day basis, I go to the same school at the same university as most of them do now. Never see them, ever. I go to the gym, I go to my classes, I go to the library, I never see anybody. And the amount of times that I think about them on a daily basis, 0. I never think about these people, ever. But at the time in high school, it felt so important to make them feel like to make them like me, I guess. Like I didn't care to be liked by them, but I also did, because I see these people every day. I don't want them to think I'm weird. I don't want them to be spreading things about me, because at the end of the day, like that's the school that I attend and I have to show up. So, but now it's like, you are not going to see these people again. They are not worth like literally killing yourself to prove to them that you're a certain way. If they want to believe that you're a hoe, let them believe that. Like you're literally there in high school for 4 years. 3 years if you went, like if you're in a different like country or something and you do the 3-year rule. 4 years if you're like in America or whatever. That feels like a long 4 years, but those 4 years are gone, you know? And it's so important to just be like, you know what? I know who I am. The people who know me and who care about me know who I am. Who cares? And it's such a hard mentality to have, but it's such an important one to have. Because you'll have to carry with this forever. Because I went through to jobs too. You'll go through jobs. When you're older, you'll go through like, maybe you'll have roommates and this stuff will pop up, and it's so important to instill it in yourself while you're young and to get through high school, to just be like, you know what, the people who care about me, the people who know me for who I am, who actually care to get to know me, won't think of me this way. The people who are worth my time won't think of me this way. Because anyone who jumps to conclusions and like starts like spreading rumors and being like, I heard that she said that, like Vanessa said that she's like a hoe, or I heard that they said that she's a bitch, or I heard that she said that they did this, and blah 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 blah. If people don't try to even get to know you or to give you the benefit of the doubt whenever they don't even know who you are, is not worth your time. Like who cares about what they think? Because they're not worth your time. I promise you. And I will probably make a whole video about like friends and friends to avoid, because honestly that's such a hard thing to like navigate at any point in your life, because I feel like friends are just so important. Like no matter who you are, you want to have a good circle of friends. You want to have people to talk to, because if you have a fight with your family, if you know you're not feeling great about yourself, if you have classes, like you just want someone there with you, you know? Like as a society, we're not really meant to be like navigating everything alone, and especially in high school where it's such a lonely time to begin with. Like you have insecurities, you are worried about your future, you know, there's lots of things going on, like family issues, your dynamics with people are changing. You just want someone there for you sometimes. But the thing is that like having a fake friend is the most painful thing ever, and you don't deserve to put yourself through that. Like you have to sometimes go through having no friends to get good friends. Because there was a point in my life where it was after I graduated high school, to be honest with you, but there was a time in my life where I let everyone go. Like I let all my friends go because I was the one connecting to them. I was the one working overtime to like reach out to them and be like, do you guys want to do this? Do you want to do this? Or like telling them stories to keep them interested in me. And I was fighting so hard to make these people like me that I was like, I have to let these people go. And so I did. And I was friendless for a while. Like I didn't have many friends for a long time. But I realized that like I didn't have friends this entire time. Like this whole time I haven't had friends. I've just had like fake friends that like occupied the space of having no friends. And like I didn't have anyone to confide in for a little bit. I had my sisters, but they're younger than me, so they like, you know, I can't tell them the full story because they're younger, right? So I'm like, okay, like I don't really have a lot of people to talk to right now, but I had myself, right? Which I'll get into in a little bit. But having real friends is just so important. Like I can't stress that enough. Like I cannot. Like if you need to go through a period of time in high school where you have no friends just to find the real ones, do that, because you are going to harm yourself so much by having these fake friends. A lot of the insecurities that you'll face whenever you're older are going to come from these fake friends. I went through a time where I was like, I literally felt so stupid for a long time because these people made me feel so stupid. And they made everything a competition. Like everything was like they were all one-uppers and they all wanted to be smarter than me, better than me. Like if I had a hobby, they were better than me at it. If I had interests, the interests weren't like, if my interests, like I liked K-pop at the time, they were like, that's so weird. Or if I liked TikTok, they were like, that's for weird people. Like they just made me feel bad about everything. And that is just like such a toxic thing to have in your life. Like having bad friends is just going to tear you down so much, and you don't realize it until you get those people out of your life. The next thing is peer pressure. We're moving on to peer pressure, and I know that everybody hates the topic of peer pressure because all the teachers are like shoving it down your throat. It's like, don't give into peer pressure. But oh my gosh, it's so true, because I know people who thought it was cool to say the N-word. I know those people. And I know that it's still out there on the internet. And whenever they go to apply for a job, that shit can get pulled up so fast. Like, I know people who have said the most racist things just to fit into people. And this kind of goes into like the morals and stuff, where like, you might think like this is a bad thing to do, but people will do anything for attention in high school. And people have said some really racist stuff that I went to school with, and that stuff is still online. People that drank underage and promoted it online, when they go to apply for a job, that stuff can get pulled up so fast. If I were to search that up right now, like their names or like maybe like a spam account or something, that can come up really quickly. Even if you deleted it, people still can take screenshots and upload it later. And even with like friends, you have to be careful with what you're saying too, because you have to remember that high school feels like it's its own world in and of itself. And once you leave, like you're like, oh, I'm like rebirth and whatever, like I'm born again, like it's a new me, like we could just forget about everything I did in high school. Like, haha, you can't. Because there was this girl who was messaging her friend about this black girl, right? She was saying the most racist stuff and like crazy stuff that I was like, oh my god. That stuff, once they weren't friends anymore, she posted it. She was like, guys, remember, let's call her like Sunshine. Remember Sunshine? She said all these things about this girl. She's racist. And people can screenshot that and use that against you forever. No matter what job you apply for, no matter what country you move to, they can use that forever. So if you're trying to follow the popular people, if you're trying to like impress them, impress this, remember that you are the most important person, and investing in yourself is the most important thing. If you don't want to drink underage, I never did that. I'm 20, almost 22 years old, and I've never drank because I just don't want to, and nobody's gonna peer pressure me into doing that. And a lot of people did a lot of like illegal stuff young and thought it was very cool. Like they thought they were the shit for doing all the illegal stuff, but that stuff can bite you in the gut in a little bit. Maybe not now, but in a few years, that stuff can bite you so hard. I remember watching this video of this girl, and she did some illegal stuff in the past. I forget what it was, but she had felonies that was in the past, but she was a minor at the time. So they were supposed to be swiped, but she went to go get a background check for her apartment that she was going to rent. Her felonies from whenever she was a minor came back up during the background check. Stuff like that can happen so fast. You can become evicted, you can lose your job, you can ruin your life for doing the stupid stuff in high school just to impress people. And you have to have a backbone and be like, guys, this isn't funny. Like, I worked retail, I've seen a bunch of teenagers steal, and I could tell that some of them weren't comfortable with it, but they stole and they had to go to the police. We had to call the police, and they were caught. And that can go on a record, even if you're a minor. Things like that. you can ruin your life so easily whenever you're young just for doing something stupid because you wanted to fit in or you wanted to impress these people and stuff. Remember that high school is such a short amount of time. Just tough it out while you can. Like, it's okay to have fun, you know, like, but you still have to take care of yourself, and you still have to be careful and really remember who you are, and remember that, like, you are not a teenager forever. You are going to look for a job when you're older. You are going to have a family when you're older, and these things will follow you. And it's okay to have fun, but there's a difference between being dumb and having fun. Like, they're two completely different things. All right. Another thing is to be fully unapologetically yourself, because this will carry on to everything else that you do in life. Because whenever you're young, you develop habits that are really hard to break in the future, and I still have some of the habits that I got from high school, and I'm still fighting through them now, and I'm like, who on earth let me do this? And I let myself do this. But what I used to do whenever I was in high school was to pretend to be kind of like dumb or not know things in front of my friends to make them feel smarter. So whenever I acted like I didn't know something, they felt really smart explaining it to me. But now sometimes I do this even now. Like, I'm like pretending like I don't know how to, like, if somebody's like, do you want me to explain it to you? And I'm like, yeah, explain it to me. Even though I already know it. Like, I could easily be like, no, it's okay, I already know it. But I want to make them feel smart. So I pretend like I don't know it so that they explain it to me, and that's something that I need to stop doing. But like, these are things that you develop in high school as like a survival mode kind of, and it's valid, but it's really important to fight against it, because whenever you're doing things like this, like pretending to be someone that you're not so that people will like you, first of all, you're attracting friends that are not going to, you're lying to them, first of all. Second of all, you're lying to yourself. Like, I know that you're trying to make people like you just so you can grab friends left and right, but you're grabbing the wrong people. Like, they're not seeing you for who you are. They're not your real friends. And the more you pretend to be someone that you're not to make people like you, the more you're reinforcing to yourself and your younger self that you're just like, nobody's gonna like you for who you are, so you have to be someone that you're not. And that's such a hard and mean thing to say to yourself. Like, even if you're not explicitly saying that, you pretending to be someone that you're not just so people will like you is you telling yourself over and over, you have to act this way or else nobody's gonna like you. That's such a terrible thing to reinforce to yourself. Be yourself every single step of the way. And a lot of the times, whenever you are lying to yourself and telling yourself like, oh, I have to be this way, this way, this way, you also ignore your instincts, and you don't do things for the betterment of yourself. You do things to please others. And if there's like this option versus this option, for example, you could study and get a good grade, but your friends are asking you to go out or go on a drive because they're having a really bad day. Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose failing your exam, or are you going to choose maybe making your friend disappointed? Which one are you going to choose? And if you choose the one with your friend and you fail the exam, and you knew you should have went for the exam, you knew your gut instincts were telling you to go for the exam, and you went with your friends, like, it's just, you're mourning so many things at that point, because you're like, dang, like, I did really bad on my test, but now I also went against myself when I knew I should have studied for my test. I knew I shouldn't have went out with my friends that day. But if you would have went just for your test exam and you got a bad test, you could be like, at least I followed through with what I thought was best, you know? And I also used to try to make people like me. Like, if they would say something that I don't agree with, I'd be like, they'd be saying some like buffoonery that I don't agree with, but I'd be like, yeah, you're right, because I wanted people to like me. But you best believe I wouldn't do that now. But at the time, I was insecure and wanted friends, and I wanted people to like me, that I would just be like, yeah, you're right. Like, I was just like everyone's puppet. And people can see that really clearly, and they'll just take advantage of you. And I learned that the hard way. So just remember that. Like, you'll be like, oh, it doesn't happen to me. Like, people would never do that to me. They'll do it to you. If they'll do it to others, you're not special. They'll do it to you too. And also, like, a lot of people are afraid to be themselves because they think that everyone's judging them. I can guarantee you right now, no one gives an actual alicious about what you are doing right now. Nobody cares. Everyone's too worried about themselves. Everyone's self-centered in high school and middle school. Everyone's worried about their own like drama, their own life. Nobody cares. And if they do care, that is mortifyingly embarrassing. Like high school is such a pivotal time to worry about yourself, and everyone's so obsessed with themselves. And if there's that one person who's judging you, that's mortifying. That's mortifyingly embarrassing. That's like actually horrifically embarrassing. Like they have fully given up on themselves to the point where they now are only caring about you. First of all, it's a compliment. Second of all, like that's so sad. So just like don't even bother being like, oh, they made fun of my outfit, girl. Like be for real. Like they're not worried about their grades, they're not worried about their family life, they're not worried about their friends, they're not worried about themselves. They're worried about your outfit. Like please, like do you not see how embarrassing that is? Like in high school it's kind of like, oh my god, like everyone was laughing at my outfit. I guarantee you no one gives a heck, and it was just her or him worried about your outfit, which is just mortifyingly embarrassing in and of itself. Like I don't think I've ever like looked at someone and been like, oh my god, their hair looks weird, or oh my god, they listen to this type of music, or oh my god, like she's dating him, or oh my gosh, like her makeup looks weird. I don't think I've ever done that. Like maybe I was like, her eyebrows are really dark right now, but I'm not gonna go around and be like, her eyebrows are really dark, or I hate her outfit. Like be so for real right now. That is so mortifyingly embarrassing. Like mortifyingly embarrassing. Another thing, high school, like I've stated so many times, it's already so stressful. It's already so difficult and so stressful and so mortifying. Do not cause more stress for yourself than it's needed. Do not gossip about people to others that like you can't trust. Like even like if it's a best friend that you've had for years and years and years, then maybe confide in them. Like drama and like also gossip is normal. Everybody does it. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I've never gossiped in my entire life. That's a flat out lie. I definitely have. But there's a difference between being like, oh my god, like, and like gossiping and stuff, and being straight up malicious and trying to ruin someone's life and spreading rumors that you have no business spreading, you know? Like if someone's photos got leaked, that's not something to go, like that's not something to joke about and spread and stuff. Like that's a line that's crossed, you know? But if it's something like, did you hear that they broke up? Like everybody has done that, you know? But don't spread and start rumors, because they'll be like, I heard that like so and so said this, or like say your name is Car. They'll be like, Car said this, Car said that, Car said this, and it'll come back to you, and people will be like, I heard that like you said this about her, and da 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 da. And it's just so much unnecessary stress that you caused on yourself because you were not careful with your words. And like sometimes a lot of people like will be like, try to like impress the popular people and be like, did you hear this and this, and just to impress them. Don't do that. Like they're really not worth it. Most of them peak in high school. Like just be so for real with yourself and stay true to yourself, and know that like if you think that maybe I shouldn't be saying this, don't say it. Follow your gut instinct. If you think I probably shouldn't be saying this about this person, don't say it. Don't do it. Or if your friend is like, don't tell anybody this, do not try to impress people by providing them more gossip. We don't need more gossip. Like I promise you, there's so much gossip out there in high school. They don't need your 2 cents. I promise. It might entertain them for probably like it might entertain them for like an hour, and they'll tell everybody within that hour, and then it'll blow. But then that next person that they tell, it'll entertain them for that hour, and the next person they tell, it'll entertain them for that hour, and that hour just keeps spreading and spreading to everybody. And they'll be like, I heard it from her, I heard it from this person, and that person was you. And now everybody's like, I heard it from her, I heard it from her. And now the person that you spread the rumor about knows that you started it. And it's just like such a stressful thing for everybody in the school being like, I heard it from her, I heard it from her. And also, parties come and go, but your grades are important. And I'm not, okay, listen, don't ever place value on yourself solely based on your grades. Your grades are a number, okay? It can be a reflection of how you felt that day. Maybe you had a headache and you did it bad on that test, or maybe you were having family issues during that exam period. It's really not that deep, and it's also important that you talk to your teacher about this kind of stuff, okay? You don't have to be like, my parents are having a divorce because he found out that she cheated and blah blah blah. Like, you don't need to go that far, but you could be like, hey, listen, like, I'm having a lot of family issues and it's important to talk to your teacher about that, but also study, okay? Study. Don't be like, I don't care about grades, like, I'm too cool for this, or like, I would rather go with my friends and make memories. Study. It's important to put in effort. It's one thing if you studied as hard as you could and you got a bad grade. Yeah. Okay. But also, like, studying and putting in the effort is still important because it's life lessons, like lifelong lessons that you'll take with you. But also just like confidence wise, like if you keep getting really bad grades, really bad grades every single day, it's not great for your confidence, honestly. But if you're somebody who places a lot of like emphasis on studying and your grades, don't base everything on your grades. Like, your grades are not a reflection of who you are, but who you are can directly impact your grades. Like, how you're doing and how your mental health is can directly impact your grades. Okay, so you need to take care of yourself first, and that's not partying. Okay, taking care of yourself is not necessarily going to parties and going to this and going to that. Making memories in high school is extremely important, but also making sure that you are setting yourself up for success in the future is also very important, you know? And yeah, like, just if you are somebody who bases, like, I had panic attacks on panic attacks all the time during tests, and I'd have to write them in a separate room because I put such an emphasis on tests and marks, and I let that be something that like shapes me. Like, I'd be like, I would change my perception on myself if I had a bad grade. Don't do that. If you put in the effort, that's all you can do. Like, the effort that you put in is on you, but the grade that comes back is not necessarily on you, because your teacher, that's up to them. If it's like an essay or something, that's up to them. If you put your heart and soul into that essay and they gave you a bad mark, they chose that mark. Or if you studied really hard on that exam and it was just a hard exam, like, what else can you really do, you know? The last thing I want to talk about is that your feelings are valid. Everything that you're going through right now, every hard thing that you're going through right now is valid. You're balancing a lot. Don't let your parents, your teachers, anybody make you feel like your feelings aren't valid, or your friends or anything. Everything that you're going through right now is so valid. There's so many life changes right now. You're finding out who you are as a human being. It's hard. It's really hard. And your friends are changing. Like, everybody, this is a time in your life where everything changes so much. You as a person are changing and evolving immensely during this time, and so is everyone else around you. So there's so much change. You're maybe starting a first-time job, you're maybe getting a boyfriend for the first time, or a girlfriend, or your teachers are constantly changing every semester. Your subjects that you study are changing. You're starting to figure out what you want to do with your life. It's a lot. It's really hard, and it's important to not compare yourself to people. Like, if you're like I want to take a gap year after high school, and your friends are like, oh, well, or your parents are like, are your friends taking a gap year? It doesn't matter if your friends are taking a gap year. Don't let temporary people, and I know your parents are permanent, like, they'll forever be a part of your life to a certain extent, but it's important to remember that you are the most permanent part of your life. You will be with yourself forever, and to not let people make decisions for you. If your parents are like, you have to take a science if you have to take science in school, in high school, in university, you have to take science, or else we're gonna be so disappointed in you. My parents said the same thing. And guess what? I'm not doing science, because I would hate it. I would literally be miserable if I did science. I'm not doing science. I did what was best for myself. Like, it's really important to validate yourself through every experience. If you need to treat yourself, if your parents are like, you're gonna waste your money on getting your nails done, yeah, because it's what's making me feel special right now. I deserve to do that. And people always like try to like invalidate high schoolers and teenagers, and they're like, oh, so fucking dramatic and stuff, but it's really hard. That part of your life is really hard, and I would not want to go back to that part of my life, honestly. Genuinely and truly, I would not. I'm very content with where I am now. But yeah, it's really important to just validate yourself and validate the teenagers around you too, you know? And like sometimes like you feel really sad because you're like, I wasn't like this in the past. Like why am I changing so much? Like why do I not like these people around me anymore? It's because you're evolving, and you can mourn the past self too. Like you're mourning the child in you always, but the child in you is always within you, but it's also like you're not that same person anymore, so it's like difficult. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just really, really hard to explain, but I'm sure if you're going through this part of your life right now, you understand what I'm saying, but it's like I outgrew these people. What is wrong with me? Like I outgrew my friends, and I don't like my parents right now. My sisters are on my last nerve. My brother, I literally want to like literally scream at him every single day. What is wrong with me? But you're just evolving, and that time will pass. I promise you. You're not insane. You're gonna be fine. I promise. Anyways, y'all, it's cold as actual anything out here, and I'm not trying to be in this car for any longer, so I hope that these tips helped you. I have a lot more to say about high school, and I can share story times. I can do anything I can. I'm here for all y'all. So if you want to hear more, I will make another part 2, but yeah, those are my 2 cents for now. I don't want this video to be like 600,000 hours long, so I'm going to stop the video here. But if you want to hear more, I have more tips. If you have like questions, I can answer them. But yeah, I'm sending you so much love during your time in high school and navigating everything in life, because I don't want anyone to think that they're dramatic for having a hard time in high school, because it's so valid. It's so valid. But yeah, anyways, love, 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 love.